Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark from the United States.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Mark from the States. How are we doing today? I am doing fantastic. I hope you are as well. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate each and every one of you. You know that I do. I really, really do. You guys are absolutely amazing. Awesome. You guys are awesome. So please come sit on this big fake couch. We're here joined by the lovely Violet, who is, of course, napping. And today we're going to look at England's forgotten castle, Conisbrough Castle. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. You know I love castles. Sure. Who doesn't? So there are so many. I could spend a whole year just going through all the castles. Luckily, a good friend of the channels, Untold Past, they do a lot of videos on castles. He is just amazing in his work, so please go support his channel, The Untold Past. Amazing stuff. And he doesn't just do castles, he does a lot of other topics as well, so go check out his channel. The link will, of course, be in the description below. And here we go. England's forgotten castle. Let's check it out.
Tucked away in South Yorkshire is the forgotten and remarkable Conisbrough Castle. This castle stands tall around the town of Doncaster and has stood since the 11th century as a reminder of the might of the king. Join us today as we explore the history and show you around the forgotten Conisbrough Castle. If you do enjoy our videos, please make sure to support the channel by subscribing.
Please do.
Conisbrough Castle was founded by William de Warenne, the first Earl of Surrey, who had taken part in the Norman conquest in England in 1066. Because of this, he was rewarded by his father-in-law, William the Conqueror, with extensive amounts of land and estates in Sussex, Norfolk, and also Yorkshire. The manor of Conisbrough had previously been owned by the late Harold Godwinson, the man who William defeated at the Battle of Hastings. William de Warenne built his castle in an area surrounded by steep banks and had initially a Motte and Bailey castle protected by palisades here. This early fortification featured a timber keep most probably. Eventually, in the mid-12th century, the castle would pass to Hamlin Plantagenet, the illegitimate half-brother of Henry II. Hamlin rebuilt the castle around 1180 to 1190 and constructed the stone keep. In 1201, King John visited and stayed at Conisbrough. Further enhancements to the castle's defences would take place in the 13th century.
I know I say this all the time, but gosh darn, it's amazing the construction from so long ago is still on a lot of these castles. A lot of these examples that we've seen is just so still intact. And it's wonderful for the history of it, obviously, to be able to see how things were, and just amazing that, I mean, just the construction, so well put together. Crazy.
Such as a new curtain wall that would surround the inner bailey, a hall, and also many service buildings. In 1304, the castle passed to John de Warenne, and he was married to Joan de Bar. Their marriage broke down, and John attempted to get a divorce, but failed. John blamed Thomas, the Earl of Lancaster, and in response kidnapped Thomas's wife. Thomas, the Earl of Lancaster, then retaliated by seizing Conisbrough Castle.
Oh boy.
Edward II intervened and confirmed Thomas as the new owner of the castle. Edward II would then visit the castle in 1322. During the War of the Roses, Richard of York inherited the castle and passed it on to his son, Edward IV. Conisbrough would then return to being owned by the Crown. By the 16th century, the castle was in a poor state, and a survey showed that the gates and bridge had collapsed. Henry VIII gave the ruins to the Carey family. In the 17th century, the castle was not involved in the English Civil War and escaped the slighting that affected many other castles due to the castle being in a poor state. In 1811, the novelist Sir Walter Scott used it as a location for his novel Ivanhoe, which became a bestseller. It is here where we begin our tour of the fantastically forgotten Conisbrough Castle. Upon entering the castle, you are greeted by a huge barbican that links the castle from a visitor centre. It contains remnants of a partially collapsed curtain wall. Usually, Barbicans have towers within them, but this isn't the case at Conisbrough. The narrow Barbican passage curves between two parallel walls and becomes a steep climb aimed to impede an enemy's progress towards the castle.
Yeah.
There is also the location of a gatehouse within this area. The stone gatehouse was built with the curtain wall around 1200, however today it is partially collapsed. In the Middle Ages, the inner bailey would have been crowded with many different buildings. The first Earl de Warenne built many timber buildings in this area. Archaeological observations revealed the footings of many stone buildings within this area. Inside the inner bailey is a rather mysterious prison building that has a toilet within it near to where the gatehouse would have been. The Great Hall at Conisbrough was the largest room in the castle. This is where the Lord and Lady would have dined with important visitors to the castle. There are a number of stone plinths within the Great Hall which would have supported the roof. Within this Great Hall would have been a number of fireplaces and tapestries and paintings which would have adorned the walls. Many lavish banquets would have been held at Conisbrough. Around the inner bailey is a number of other buildings. This includes a service building and also a kitchen. The kitchen was originally a timber-framed square detached building. Inside this building you have an oven, a pantry and also a buttery. These service buildings were 2-storey and would have provided accommodation. They would also give access to the minstrel's gallery over the service passage. Also in this area of the castle is the solar. This is a private room belonging to the Lord that was built adjacent to the Great Hall. This was a 2-storey block and today remains of the fireplace can be seen. When Countess Maud Clifford lived at Conisbrough in the 15th century, she filled this area with luxurious furnishings, and this room would have been more comfortable than the cold rooms of the Great Tower. The solar block joined up to a number of apartments within the bailey. These domestic apartments had 2 stories, and important guests and high-ranking servants would have stayed here. The Great Tower at Conisbrough acts as the castle's keep.
That's so well.
It stands imposing and dominant above the skyline and also above the bailey. The tower entrance would have been reached by a freestanding staircase with a wooden timber drawbridge into the tower, which could have been dismantled for defence. Admission to the Great Tower would have been controlled from a window in the Great Chamber that overlooked the entrance doorway. On the first floor, unusually the entrance chamber has no natural light. With the door closed and with no lamps or torches, this room is plunged into complete darkness. Under this room is a well, in which a bucket would have been lowered to draw fresh water into the keep. This area could also have been used to store valuables and treasure. The Great Chamber on the second floor is a remarkable room. This would have been furnished with a collection of fine objects, such as painted furniture, beds with mattresses stuffed full of feathers and scented herbs, colourful rugs and expensive silverware. The chimney piece would have formed a spectacular centrepiece and would have been decorated with a heraldic shield and ornate carvings. There would have been precious wall hangings decorated with historical and mythical stories. This would have been a hugely ornate room. Above the Great Chamber is the bedchamber, where the Lord and his family would rest and sleep. This room would also have been lavishly decorated, and all the best comforts would have been found within this room, including an extremely comfy bed and a convenient toilet. The fireplace would have also been decorated with the heraldic shield of the de Warennes. There is a rather remarkable chapel which opens up from this bedchamber. The chapel's decoration dates back to the 12th century with French-style designs. In this chapel, the Lord and Lady of the castle would have attended Mass in private with their friends and family. The priest would have lived at the castle, and there is also a priest's vestment in this chapel. You can see 2 basins which would have been used for the priest to wash his hands before and after Mass. The roof of Conisbrough Castle is reached by a small staircase. The view from the top of this castle is rather spectacular, and the roof offers a complete 360-degree view of the local area, a necessity for defence. Conisbrough Castle is a forgotten gem in England's countryside. Although a rather small castle, its history is rather interesting and is linked to civil war and sieges. It's definitely worth a visit for an hour or 2 if you're passing by, to immerse yourself in the lore of the de Warenne family and also to visit the magnificent keep. Once again, thank you for watching our channel.
Please.
To support the channel, please subscribe.
Please go support his channel. just really cool. I would never see any of this stuff without his passion for the castles and his ability to put them on camera like this. It's truly remarkable how these castles that we see over and over are so well preserved. Of course, a lot of them have been rebuilt over the years, but still, a lot of the original brickwork is still there. I mean, with the weather that you all have, it just beats on the building materials through centuries, and a lot of it still remains. So that just gives you an idea of, at least gives me an idea. I'm sure all of you already know this, but how remarkable the builders were back in the day, and just the history of all these castles, of the turnover of just, death, battles, wars, civil wars. New kings come in, they rebuild. New kings come in, they tear down, hand it. I mean, it's each one has this line through history of how it weaves and touches all these famous moments in time, and it's hard, unless you're an actual scholar that actually studies this sort of thing, as a layman person who doesn't know anything, trying to get a grasp on the historical significance of a lot of these places that we do get to see. But of course, if I drive by, I would love to stop by there. Remarkable video, and looks like a beautiful place. I can see that the day wasn't the best when he did film this, but I imagine on a sunny day it must just look amazing. And it looks very imposing as well. Having to walk up the hill to get to it gives you that sense of this is a special place in a way. So, and that tower is just so well preserved. And of course, all the stuff inside looks really awesome. Cool that they have a chapel there as well. Enjoy that. All right, thank you so much. Hope everybody's happy, healthy, and safe. Has anybody been there? That would be cool. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.
Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark, and he's from